All right, let's move on to WWE Hell in a Cell. Went in to it with pretty low expectations. We know all of you guys did as well. I don't think there was a single person who was totally happy with what WWE has been doing as of late. But overall, before we get into the card, just a general thought. What was your guys' opinion, your overall opinion of Hell in a Cell? Was it a good pay-per-view? Was it worth watching?
I watched it without sound because I was also trying to do some stuff around the house and hang out with my wife since we hadn't had a lot of time to hang out lately. So while we watched another program, I also watched the pay-per-view on the iPad and with no sound. And I think that actually made this pay-per-view more enjoyable. That being said, because I had to focus more on everything that was going on, like I actually watched more of the match than kind of tuned out and just listened to the commentary and waited for the big spots. So I actually found it to be more entertaining without the sound, but it was a solid pay-per-view. I don't think there was a terrible match on the card. I mean, going in with we had, Big Show versus Rusev. We had the Bellas. There was potential for major disaster. Anytime Big Show's in the ring, there's potential, and then fucking Bellas. And I think both matches were solid.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. It was definitely better than I think any of us expected it to be. Um, Admittedly, I did watch a somewhat abridged version, meaning I didn't watch the Orton Cena match or the Rusev Big Show match. I also missed the pre-show with Miz TV and Henry versus Dallas. Sounds like I didn't really miss a whole lot. But what I did see, it was excellent wrestling overall. So, yeah, I can't say I was disappointed with what I saw.
Yeah, I think overall, we posted a what would you rate this pay-per-view out of 5 on the Facebook group and on Google Plus, and we got pretty much middle of the road. I think the highest votes were three out of 5. As far as the majority of votes, we're going to just a middle of the road pay-per-view. Live chat, it's ranging from it was okay, it was meh, it was good. So yeah, I think that was the general consensus overall. Is that a lot of middle of the road stuff.
And that I don't get it. I think it's one of the better pay-per-views they've done this year.
Yeah, again, like we went in with really low expectations, but it definitely beat any of those expectations. At least for me, I didn't. On paper, I think we left last week's conversation with on paper this does look like to be a good pay-per-view, and I think overall it met that. It was a good pay-per-view as far as match quality goes. It's just the story, the story going in and the story coming out at best was okay.
Well, I think the Cena thing hurt. But they did something that I didn't expect them to do, which was to put Rollins and Ambrose on last.
Ooh.
That says wonderful things about the crop of guys we've got coming up, that they can main event a pay-per-view. And it's not like, capital punishment or something like that. I mean, this is actually, while most people regard this as a filler pay-per-view, it's still a bigger pay-per-view.
Yeah, it is one of the more established ones.
So it's not hard to see that these younger guys are being able to take the ball and run with it, despite the way they finished it. I mean, that's just how it had to go. But I mean, they had a solid match. They worked a fantastic match, and they deserved the spot they had.
All right, well, let's go into the card real quick. We'll just run down results. Obviously, the kickoff was Mizdow TV, so Damien Mizdow interviewed The Miz on what was basically Miz TV. So, and I think overall it was what we can expect from from Miz TV, which is really bad. Also, we had Mark Henry versus Bo Dallas in a squash match. Dolph defeated Cesaro in 2 falls, which is really surprising. We also had Nikki Bella going over Brie, Gold and Stardust retaining, John Cena defeating Randy Orton to earn a title shot, Sheamus defeating Miz to retain the U.S. Championship, Rusev going over Big Show, AJ Lee retaining the Divas Championship, and Seth Rollins defeating Dean Ambrose after the interference by Bray Wyatt. So overall, that's your results. Match of the card for you guys.
Go ahead, Nick, because
Yeah, it's a really close tie between Dolph versus Cesaro and Rollins versus Ambrose.
yeah, you beat me to that one.
Yeah, it can't be stressed enough that Dolph and Cesaro are excellent in the ring together. They seem to work really well together, and on more levels than I thought they would. I always forget about Dolph's history as an amateur wrestler, and he really showed that off in this match against Cesaro. I definitely wasn't expecting the 2 falls. When you just look at the results, you kind of think, man, I wish I could have given Cesaro something. But Cesaro looked really strong in this match. At the start of the second fall, he came roaring in with a jumping uppercut, and he basically dominated a lot of the match. So I think that went as well as it could have. As far as the main event goes, I think it was worth every bit the hype that the WWE put behind it. I mean, bringing Mick Foley out to hype up this match was a huge move, and those two lived up to it. As far as Wyatt's interference, I'm not upset about that. I kind of wish that if you're gonna send Ambrose off in a different direction, I kind of wish you would have gotten that closure against Rollins, but just the prospect of Ambrose and Wyatt facing off, it more than makes up for that. I am so stoked to see that.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be a great program because they both are tremendous on the mic. Ziggler and Cesaro I understand the shock everyone has with there's only 2 falls out of the, because you always see 3 falls. I like the fact they didn't do that. It made it stand out. It gave Dolph a little more oomph. But Cesaro, like you said, Nick, looked strong. That was a phenomenal match. Very entertaining. And they did it without having to have the crazy spot fest, which is what the Hell in a Cell main event was. So I'm going to give my nod to Cesaro Ziggler for match of the night.
Okay.
Not to take anything away from the main event, it was a fantastic match, but I think they did more with less, and that gives it a few more points.
Yeah, it was definitely a very, very cool match. Overall, for me, it was Rollins versus Ambrose, and I know that's what a lot of people in the live chat are saying. A lot of people on our social media feeds were saying, but at the end of the day, there is a huge conflict. It's odd. Like, it seems like everyone that we talk to and everyone that has chimed in is telling us that they're hyped. They're hyped about Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt. But like you said, Nick, there's this need for closure. People were like, they shouldn't have wasted the end of the match for that. I think it was Michael Kupak in the Facebook group. He said, the part that he didn't like was that after 5 months of chasing Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose never got any real win over him, and this hot feud doesn't end with one guy destroying the other. It ends with Bray Wyatt doing a run-in. Plus, on top of everything else, it was another pay-per-view that ended in a screwy finish, and that's what's also being talked about in the live chat. So everyone seems to be, again, they love the match, they love Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose, the future that could be, but they hated the fact of how they started it.
I don't really expect anything like that from a Hell in a Cell match. Not when you've got all that open space on the outside. If this was just a cage containing a ring and you couldn't go outside of the ring, then that'd be one thing. But you've got plenty of open area for somebody to crawl out from under the ring or even burst through the ring. And you can't really make the argument that it didn't keep anybody out. I mean, if they were there the whole time, then the cage wasn't going to keep them out. So that complaint is a little bit ridiculous when you consider that, I think. But yeah, again, I do see the point about Rollins and Ambrose not getting closure, but that's not exactly new. When you look back at TNA with Bobby Roode and James Storm, Storm never got that closure. They had a series of barn burners, which were absolutely great unto themselves, but Storm never got that revenge against Roode. And look where those two are now. Roode is #1 contender for the world title and kind of looks like he's going to take it this time. And Storm is in a storyline that could very well be the main storyline of the company going forward. So you got to consider those two things.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I can totally understand the frustration that most wrestling fans are voicing in that, you know, the screwy finish. It kind of it feels like they're ending Rollins versus Ambrose on a sour note instead of, you know, giving both of those guys justice, giving both of those guys, you know, a good out. Me, on the other hand, I was okay with it. I was okay with them not having Ambrose win clean. I was fine with Rollins getting the upper hand again because it means to me that this isn't over. You know, Ambrose still needs to get his hands on Rollins, and hopefully, you know, that leads to something special, say WrestleMania.
Here's the hoping.
Yeah, Royal Rumble. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities still to carry on the story, and I don't see why we needed to end it just to separate these guys and let them do their own thing for a little while. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So. All right. Well, anything else on this pay-per-view that you guys want to talk about?
Looking over it, you know, tag team match was something that we didn't really comment on. That was a good match.
Absolutely. Stardust's new suit is also baller as hell.
Yeah.
Is that Field of Stars an homage to Daddy Dusty? Because I want to say he wore trunks with that design, but I couldn't find pictures.
If he did, I don't remember ever seeing him, but my only experience with Dusty, admittedly, was his run in the WWE.
Yeah, I remember I've seen a picture of him with Stardust on his trunks, but I can't remember if he had, like, stars on them.
Yeah, I don't really remember anything from Dusty as far as that goes. He had, like, solid trunks for most of his WCW run. And then once he was in WWE or WWF at the time, it was like the polka dot thing. So I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, at some point, Dusty probably got a little bit of Stardust on his trunks, but he got enough of it in that.
Yeah.
He was born.
All right. So overall, Cena versus Orton. Are you surprised that Cena got the nod? Obviously, Joe, you and I. We were hoping that Randy Orton was going to get that title shot. I mean, he was the worst or the best of, you know, those two. But still, are you guys surprised that once again we're going to get John Cena versus Brock Lesnar?
I'm not surprised. I'm bummed out. Why does it always have to be John Cena? That's my complaint. Cena had a shot. Cena had a couple shots. And it's time for someone else to get that shot. Even if it is Randy Orton.
There it is. Yeah, I'm not surprised by this, and I'm also disappointed, but I would have been disappointed either way. I'm disappointed that this match happened at all. But Unlike you, Joe, I think Cena is the lesser of two evils here. Yeah, I want to see somebody else get that shot at Brock, but you can't do nearly as much with an Orton-Lesnar feud as you can with a Cena-Lesnar feud.
Come
You
on,
can't.
we've got like 6 months before we get a match anyway. So
Well,
why not?
be that as it may, you can't have Heyman trying to corrupt Orton because Orton's already an asshole. Cena is still the Boy Scout superhero that the kids love, and there's always the hint that Cena might snap, that Cena might kill Heyman in the middle of the ring because he pushed him just that little bit too far.
We've already seen Cena doing that crap.
But the WWE keeps on doing it and doing it and doing it, and
because they have nothing else to go to.
Well, yeah, I mean, as tired as that is, though, that's still more than you could do with Orton. I mean, what are you gonna have Orton do? Head him with an RKO out of nowhere, and
just have him stalk Heyman. Have him keep stalking Heyman, and just have Heyman keep escaping. Last second, managed to get away, and then eventually when Orton's just about to get him, then we get a Brock Lesnar appearance, and then they brawl, and then maybe Orton gets a hold of Heyman again, actually gets his hands on him.
Yeah, Nick.
I mean, you can do the chase. The Orton he's the apex predator. He's going to chase. He's going to bide his time and eventually get to his target. But you've got a lot of time in which you can do something. You don't always need the pretty boy Superman just about to snap because someone's touching him with the kryptonite a little bit.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, generally speaking, no matter who won this match, I don't think we would be super excited about, their match against Brock Lesnar. But at the same time, we know what Cena can do in the ring with Brock Lesnar. The second match was a little bit different for them. No 16 suplexes, but still, we have such a limited time. Apparently, with Brock Lesnar, it'd be nice to see other people go against him. So for me, I think it is a shame that they didn't let Orton win because now we're going to get the same thing that we've got in the last two matches between these two, and that's all that Brock Lesnar is doing, and I think that's a wasted opportunity.
I think Orton actually has a reason to be pissed and to do the things he does. It seems like it's being more applicable now than just random Randy. So I would rather see Orton, instead of Cena in that spot.
I think the WWE really wants a resolution to Orton versus Reigns.
But if they're going to be turning, if the theory is, the rumor was that they're going to turn Orton face. They're aiming for that.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor, but
I mean, what do? Bring back? You're not going to bring back Reigns as a heel. Every time you watch one of those damn videos, the crowd pops huge. It's like when Triple H came back from his ACL. There was no way in hell he was going to be a heel. No way. I mean, he came back in his Canadian tuxedo, but
I don't know. I'm disappointed. But overall, that was actually a pretty good match. And again, every match on this card was pretty good. Mark Henry over Bo Dallas was kind of a shame that it was such a quick match. But we'll get into that a little bit. So overall, Hell in a Cell. Any final thoughts? Are you surprised that no titles changed hands?
Not really. It's interesting to note that, but I'm not really surprised. I think the one of the best moments from this pay-per-view was the post-match segment with Sheamus and Mizdow. That was pretty great.
Yes. Yeah, again, Damien Mizdow stole the show. So much better than The Miz. Pretty much so much better than a lot of things that WWE is doing lately.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
All right, cool. Well, that was Hell in the Cell.
TW Podcast.